Hello, and welcome back to the Garden of Grace devotion. My name is Pastor Katie, and I'm one of the pastors at Trinity Lutheran Church in Lilburn, Georgia. Today, I want to share with you something that happened to me, an experience that I had right before Christmas, just a few weeks ago. I'd gone to Gainesville, Florida to visit my family. And on Sunday morning, I realized that I hadn't really brought clothes for church. And so my plan was to go for a walk and listen to the worship service from Trinity while I walked, because I can stream it on my phone. So I had my little headphones in, had my phone. I was listening to the service and walking along. Then the next thing I knew, a misty rain was happening. So I was getting a little bit wet, walking along, listening to worship. And I came upon a church, a beautiful, large Methodist church in Gainesville, Florida. And I've walked by this church before, and I even have run. They have a trail behind the church. I've run on that. This particular Sunday, I was walking by and I thought, I wonder what time their services are. Then I reminded myself of my appearance. I did not look very much like a pastor. I looked a lot more like, as my grandmother would say, a drowned rat. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just walk up a little closer and see what's happening up there. So I walked a little closer, and they had these big doors to the sanctuary. And I thought, do I do it? Do I just peek inside to see what's going on? I didn't want to disturb a service. And so I kind of listened, and I heard singing. And I thought, maybe I could just sneak in the back and hear some music. And I noticed, I was in like a sweater and yoga pants. And I thought, maybe not. I put my hand on the door and I thought, nope, not gonna do it. Turned around. And then I thought, this is an interesting experiment. This is an interesting experiment to see what it might feel like to walk in to a different church on a Sunday morning, not dressed for church, and see what it feels like and see how it goes. I was like, well, if they throw me out, at least I'm in Gainesville. Like I don't know many people here except my family. So I went back and I put my hand on the handle and I opened the door. And I discovered that there was not a worship service taking place, but the contemporary band was warming up and they were singing, and it was gorgeous. Oh my goodness, it was gorgeous. And there I was in their narthex listening to this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful music. And I met a gentleman who was an usher, and he told me all about the coffee. I mean, all about the coffee. They have very special coffee at this Methodist church, which, by the way, is called Trinity United Methodist Church. So he told me all about the coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I appreciated the information. And then I asked him if it would be okay for me to sit for just a little bit and listen to the music. Absolutely, he said, absolutely. So I did. I said, do you think the music people would mind? Oh, no, go ahead. So I took a seat at the back of the sanctuary, and I was so blessed by the worship music that I heard. It was gorgeous. It was such a God moment for me. At one point, the band broke, and the leader kind of walked by me, and he was like, said, hey. I said, I just was walking by, and I stopped and We talked for a little bit, and he continued on. He said it was okay for me to be there. And I listened a little while longer. And then when it was getting close to service time, I decided to excuse myself. And then I listened to the worship service from that church as I continued on my walk. I also listened to Trinities later as well. But it was such an incredible experience for me. I really experienced the mercy of God and God's presence in a different setting. I felt a little embarrassed. I felt vulnerable based on how I was dressed. I thought, ugh. But nobody really gave me a second look. People were kind. I said hello. But as I reflected on the experience, I got to thinking about the mercies of God, God's presence in my daily life, and how sometimes I think I'm afraid to lean into them. I could have just walked away that Sunday morning. I could have said, oh, no. And my grandmother probably would have had me walk away because we went to church dressed nice. And that's a good thing. That's fine. But I think it's also important to be welcoming to all folks. And so I was close to just walking away, to not opening that door out of fear of how I might be received on the other side. I would have missed that experience, that expression of God's mercy that I received in the welcoming that I received from others, in the blessing of sitting and listening to the music. So as I thought about this experience that I had, as I left and as I put on the worship service, and as I walked some more and got rained on more and more, by the time I got back to where we were staying, I was soaking wet. But it was such a joy to walk in, and my family said, "Where did you go?" And I said, "Well, I went on a walk, and I went to church, and then I went on a walk, and I was reminded of my baptism with all of the rain, and I was reminded of how in God's house, we all are welcome, even in Gainesville, Florida. Go Gators." So as I've reflected on this experience, I was reminded of the beginning of one of my favorite hymns, "Great is Thy Faithfulness." And the hymn is based on Lamentations, chapter 3, verse 22. It reads, "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Therefore, I will hope in Him." This new year, I hope to be open to the new mercies of God each day. As the hymn says, "Morning by morning, new mercies I see." I pray that I can get out of my own way, like in that moment when I went back and opened the doors of that church. Pray that I can humble myself to receive blessings like that from others. How about you? How are you at receiving the mercy of God, at seeing new mercies from God every day of your life? What keeps you from them? What pulls you toward them? In this new year, may we look for the unexpected. May we step out in courage into a space where maybe we're less comfortable. May we give thanks to God, for great is God's faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies may we see. And may God's peace be with you today and always. Amen.